If you are a fan of granola with lots of big clusters, this is the recipe for you.
Hi, my name's Chandra, and as you've heard, I am making some granola today, but this is a 2-day process, like many of my projects are. And so I thought I'd show you also what we are having for dinner on those 2 nights.
I want to show you how I make soaked granola. The intention behind the soaking is to reduce the phytate levels, which oats have quite a high amount of phytates, and phytates can bind to minerals so that you don't get them in your body. Now, some people produce the phytase enzyme in their gut to break that down, so it's not as much of an issue. But if you have any sort of gut issues, then soaking could really help. Soaking alone won't do it. I will also add a cup of buckwheat. Because oats don't have a high level of phytase to break down that phytic acid, which I just spent a while looking online to find where I learned that buckwheat has high levels of phytase to aid in the breakdown of the phytates in the oats, and I could not find it anywhere, but I did find that rye has a really high level, rye and wheat actually. So either one of those grains, as well as, if you trust my long memory, buckwheat, could be added to your soaking oats in order to provide that phytase enzyme. I think I might try that next time. I keep a rye sourdough starter, and that would be a great thing to add right in, and that will provide the acid, which you also need, as well as the phytase. For the acid in this recipe, I will use a little bit of kefir. It's almost like an inoculation, as well as the acid will keep unwanted things from growing in there while it's soaking. So you have seen me spill a bunch of coconut milk, and now I am adding half a cup of ghee. You could also use butter, and half a cup of coconut oil. You could use all coconut oil, you could use all butter, you could use all ghee, just some kind of fat. And the vitamins from an animal fat are really good also to put in conjunction with your phytase or phytate, containing foods. So this I will take over and melt on the stove just so that I can stir it all into those oats. And this whole mixture, along with a little bit of kefir, will, and if you don't want to use kefir, you could also use, like if you're dairy free, you could use a little bit, like a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. And this will soak for, I soaked this for probably 18 hours or so. 24 hours is best, 12 is fine too though. I'm going to cover this and put it in a warm place in my kitchen, which I usually just put it on top of the refrigerator. I figure higher is warmer, and it's kind of near my stove. Here is dinner tonight. It's Monday. This is a Thai peanut stew, I guess. It's coconut milk, some broth, a couple pounds of pork roast that I cut up, and then this was baked in the oven for a couple hours, but it was really still very liquidy, so I wanted to finish it on the stove to simmer that down a little bit, make it a little thicker. All right, I'm adding the juice of 1 lime. And some cilantro to finish it off. Here we go, it's the next day, and I'm ready to add my sweetener and flavorings to the granola, or it's oats still right now, I guess. So I have honey and maple syrup. I'm going to put some vanilla extract and cinnamon. Actually, I'll use pumpkin pie spice because it's that time of year. And I also am going to make this pumpkin by taking, I had a little bit of leftover pumpkin from my last pumpkin project. I also have some sweet potato that just needs to be used. So I'm gonna mix that in and call it all pumpkin. But that's what this is. It's about half a cup It's not very much. It doesn't lend a lot of flavor, but that's probably better for my kids anyway. So I'm gonna mix this all up, warm it up just to make it softer, more liquidy, and then I will use my immersion blender. And I mentioned in the beginning how this is a very clustery granola, and it is incredible. Because these oats have been soaked, when you spread it out on a pan to put in the oven, it is one piece, and I actually have to break it up in order to have it not just be a sheet. So those clusters are sturdy, and I really like it. It makes a good granola for dry snacking. Like I can pack chunks of this in my kids' snack bags, and it's easy to eat without any liquid, which they don't always prefer to have a cereal type granola. Sometimes they just want to snack on it. This granola, because it is so wet at this point, it does need to have a longer and lower bake time, and temperature. So I set the oven between 250 and 300, and it takes 2 to 4 hours or so, depending on whether you're on the lower or the higher end of that temperature range, to really fully dry out. And here's dinner this night. We are having some sauteed zucchini, the last zucchini from the garden. This is honey mustard chicken that I baked in the oven and then stuck under the broiler to get the top nice and crispy. And the easiest risotto ever. This is an Ina Garten recipe, and it's all in the oven. It was incredible.